Hi! Have you ever found yourself exhausted and worn out from all the challenges that come with being a wife and mother while your husband is away at work? Well, I'm here to share some of my experiences. Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. I have so many things that I want to get out. I'm so excited about this channel and just sharing with you all what I have experienced as a mother, a Christian mother, and as a wife. So let's get started. Okay, so way back when, not that long ago, about 2019, my husband took on a swing shift, and it was very challenging for me because at the time I had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I was pregnant. Yes, pregnant. It was very challenging. It's like, God, why is this my life? And at the time that my husband took the shift, I was not pregnant. I got pregnant, I want to say like 2-3 months after he started this shift. But it was challenging. It was very challenging because I can remember I was working, I was in school, y'all. Like, I have been there, right? I was in school pursuing my bachelor's degree and working full time. So basically, I had to get up every morning, wash the kids, feed them, take them to childcare, go to work, handle all the stresses that come with being a working woman, right? With upper management, just a lot of that. And then also leaving work, going to pick up my children, getting home, I have to wash them, feed them. I'll try to do some videos on quick meals that I did during that time because I did cook. I didn't do a lot of ordering or stopping to get food unless it was a Friday. But so basically, my husband, he was working, it was 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for 3 days. And then the other shift was 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for 3 or 4 days. The thing was, he worked an hour and 15 minutes away. So any day that he worked, it was just me and the kids. So if he was working morning shift, he had to leave by 5:30. And if he was working the evening shift, he would leave at 5:30 in the evening. So I got off at 5 o'clock so that by the time I got home, he would already be gone. It was a lot. So basically, it was just the kids and I. So when he had to work night shift, I would basically wash the kids, feed them, just let them do whatever. Because thankfully, they were still young. They didn't have homework. So I know that's a whole different challenge. But wash them, feed them, put them in the bed, do some homework if I had homework to do. I did a lot of homework at work. But yeah, so I would do homework and then get up the next morning, do it all over again because he got off at 7, but I was leaving my house about 7:30 because I had to give myself time to drop them off and get to work. I had to be at work by 8:30. So I would leave. I was trying to leave by 7:30 to get to work by 8:30 because anything could happen. Somebody could throw up, somebody could wet themselves, somebody could do anything. I lived about 10 minutes from the child care and my job was right down the street, but I still wanted to make sure I gave myself enough time to get up and get out of the house so that I could be at work by 8:30. So most mornings I would be at work by 8 o'clock, 8:15. This went on for 2.5 years, so it was a lot because not only am I pretty much doing this by myself, but the days that he was working, because when he was off, he could help me, right? That it was a tremendous help because he could take the kids to school or whatever. So I really feel for like military moms or I have a better understanding of single motherhood because I'm not a single mother, right? Because I still have the financial support of my husband. I was physically doing everything on my own. So anyway, 2 toddlers because when I got pregnant, my son was 2 and my daughter was 1. And then by the time I had her, my son was 3 and my daughter was now 2. Yeah, 3 and 2. But anyway, it was a lot because I'm tired. You know, when you're pregnant, you're tired. Not all pregnancies are different, but this particular pregnancy, I remember drinking caffeine just so I could operate, especially the night shifts. I would drink caffeine in the morning so I could function at work, and then I would drink caffeine every day before I left work so I could have a functioning night, like I'm able to do all of my different tasks. And y'all, it was so lonely because I felt like nobody really understood what I was really dealing with. Like, it's like, oh, she has 2 kids, but everybody didn't know my husband's schedule because, I mean, I just didn't really talk to people, right? But the few friends that I did have, they didn't have children, right? So it's only so much sympathy you can have in any situation, right? And I asked God, why me? And now I see the reason is because I have so many friends who are having children. Not so many, but I have friends who are having children. And I'm like, hey, sis, I've been there. I know what it's like, because not only are you dealing with this, but for me, my husband's not coming home every night. And then the nights that he is coming home, these are the days that he's working, right? When he is coming home, he's tired because it's 8 o'clock. Again, because he works an hour and 15 minutes away. So he's not getting home till 8:15, 8:20, sometimes 8:30. So he's tired. So he takes a shower. We might spend a few hours together and he's going to sleep because he has to get up and do it again the next day. Or if he's working the night shift, then the 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., I don't see him, right? Like, you know, it was tough. And to not physically have him there was emotionally draining. And I remember I would just go to sleep, and first of all, I didn't sleep well when he wasn't home, right? Because when you're really connected to somebody like that, it's hard when they're away. And I'm not going to say it gets easier. You just learn to deal with it better, or you learn to handle it better and just look forward to when you do get to spend that time with them again, right? And so, but basically, I still wanted to give my children a good life. So I tried to keep my children as the main focus. And that's what I did. And even in being in school, being very active in church, I still took them to church. We still went to Friday night Bible studies, and Wednesday nights we went some nights as well, because this was pre-COVID. I had my daughter at the end of 2019, and then COVID hit in March of 2020. So it was pre-COVID that I was pregnant. I had to find my strength from somewhere, right? Because after a year of this, it's like, okay, so when are you coming home? Like, and basically it was the only way he could do it was if someone wanted to take on that shift, or if he found another job. So those were the only two options. And it was like, God, when is this gonna happen? But it finally just so happened that he found a job closer to where we lived, only like 15 minutes away, if that. And now, you know, we're able to see him every night. And then too, I just want to add, like, growing up in a home where my dad came home every night, I just didn't see this for myself. And these are not things that you always think to talk about before you get married, you know. But I didn't have anybody in my environment, and my environment was church, work, and somewhat the people at the daycare. So in my environment, I didn't know people who were in my situation. So it was very lonely. And I just remember I listened to a lot of Bishop Bonner sermons. If you have not listened to Bishop Bonner, I encourage you to do so. He is a faith talker, and I just love that about him. I also listen to Bishop G.E. Patterson a lot, and I listen to music. We did a lot of singing. My son plays the drums. And, you know, as a woman, you're in situations, but you really don't realize all that you're doing because as moms, we just have tunnel vision. So it wasn't until like later on that I really realized everything that was going on a daily basis. Like I'm constantly doing everything on my own, right? So yeah, as a woman, you're really just focusing on your kids and doing what you need to do for the next day. And so I want to say the biggest thing is time management. I was always moving. Folding clothes. If one of the kids woke up at night, I would be up folding clothes, putting a load in, taking a load out. I tried to keep paper plates in the house so I wouldn't have to wash a lot of dishes. We ate salmon all the time because salmon is such a quick and easy meal to make. You could either buy the salmon fresh or you could buy it frozen. It doesn't take that long to thaw. I always thawed it in water. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but I mean, you know, we're good, right? But I used to make it in the air fryer, quick. My kids loved it. A lot of times we all ate off the same plate because it was just what we did. It probably wasn't the best to eat after each other, but that's what we did, you know. And it helped me to not have them making a huge mess because I'm trying to get to bed, you know. But they were like my little best friends and they didn't even know it because I often tell people my kids inspire me so much, especially in my lowest points. Like they inspire me so much because in my most recent valley experience, I'll tell that story another day, but I remember saying like, God help me. Like I would just say that randomly, help me God, help me. And my kids, especially the older two, would be like, help us Jesus, help us God. You know, so they really inspire me. But yeah, even at the ages of 2 and 1, and then they turned 3 and 2, they were such an inspiration for me. And I just really appreciated family. And I think that's the biggest thing as wives and mothers. It's like we can't get too caught up in life, you know, in jobs, in education. We need those things, right? But like you often hear people say the job is not going to care about you when you're gone. And that's so true. Like I thought about that all the time. So I was very intentional about keeping my children first. Of course, God is first, but you know, He gave us family, and I really feel like family is our first ministry. And I'm still learning different ways to make sure I keep my family as my ministry. But it's just the fact of making sure we keep God first. And I didn't see that this was all working for my good because, you know, it's almost, you don't forget about the trials and tribulations that you go through, but it's like all of the pain had a purpose. And I'm very grateful for that purpose, which is to inspire and help other mothers, because I've often felt like my calling is to help other mothers, but it really hasn't been until the last year where I'm seeing why I went through all I went through, right? Doing pretty much everything on my own because, like I said, I didn't have any other women in my environment. I knew there were other women out there like me, but not in my environment who had husbands that were gone a good bit, right? So now, even if my husband gets home late, which that doesn't happen often, I know he's coming home. Like, I remember there were times where I'm like, I just want him to come home every night. Like, I appreciate a guy if he can just come home. Even if he comes home every night at 8 o'clock, I will appreciate that. I will appreciate that so much. But the interesting thing is, and this is why I say it's all purpose, is that now I have friends who their husbands, they don't get home until 8 or 9 o'clock, or they're gone all the time working, you know, because that's what it's about. And we're just in a different society. A lot of people do travel for work, right? but I have those people placed in my life, and so I can say to them, I have been there, and this is what I did. This is how I pushed through. And even though I can't physically change their situation, it's just the fact of knowing that somebody else knows and understands what I'm going through. And that helps, right? That helps so much, is that just to know, even though, you're not in my exact situation, it just helps to know that somebody understands. And God always sends somebody that understands. And so in my small period, and I'm saying small even though it was 2.5 years, but I'm saying small because it was only 2.5 years of my life, right? Like, so it was a short period. It didn't feel like it during the time, but it was a short period of my life, and it was just God's way of molding me, because I had to get closer to him, right? I had to do more to seek him, because I have these 2 little people looking at me, eventually 3 people looking at me for guidance, to be their mom, to be there for them. And I'm not playing both roles, right? Because I believe the mother is the mother and the father is the father. So I can only be the best mother that I can be. I'm obviously not doing this video to put my husband down in any way, because he had to work, right? He had to work. So, but more so just to encourage you, even if you're not in the situation, that everything happens for a reason. We all have a calling. We all have a purpose. We all have a plan. And God is able to strengthen you however he needs to do it. Because of that situation, now having 5 children, I'm able to navigate life a little bit more easier because of the time management skills that I learned. Having 2 little ones and pregnant, and then eventually 2 little ones and a baby, and then being pregnant again, and I'll tell people that with each pregnancy it gets easier. And I don't mean easier as in like the load is lighter, because the load is heavier. I mean easier as in you just kind of know how to navigate certain things. But even with that, each child is different. Each child needs different attention. There's all those things that you juggle as a mother. And then as a wife, trying to be a supportive wife, trying to be there for your husband, because I didn't want to weigh him down with all that I was feeling. But yes, I talked to him, but he had a lot on his shoulders and his mind when he comes home. So that was one of the biggest reasons I didn't talk to him as much about things, because I knew he had his own battles that he had to fight at work. And maybe I should have expressed more, of what I was feeling. But at the time, my thought process was, I just don't want to put too much on him, because he's already tired. He has a lot on his shoulders. And so I just didn't want to put too much on him. But now my husband is basically, I'm just going to put it out there, he's like the best streamer, or I don't really think it's videography. Basically, he streams services for a lot of churches all over this area. He's traveled to North Carolina, and just other places. He streams services for a lot of different conferences and things like that. So he's gone all the time, right? But I can navigate it better because of what I went through. And for me, it's like, well, he's coming home. So, I mean, hey, even if he gets home at 12:30, 1 o'clock, I know he's coming home, so, and I can think back to the times that he didn't come home, and I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, my husband's coming home tonight, right? So I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, I'm just grateful that he's coming home. I don't mind. It's like, go ahead, honey. Because everybody calls him. But it's a good thing, it's good for him, because I know he enjoys doing it. He enjoys doing other things too, but hopefully y'all will see some videos of him in action, because he's a jack of all trades. And I just want to say this also really quick. When something is ordained by God, which I definitely believe, and again, we'll tell that story one day when the both of us can get on camera, but about how we met and how God really placed us together. I'm just so grateful, like, for my husband. I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am for him. Just the way we balance each other out, like, yeah, it's a blessing. I just want to encourage you to seek support from your family and friends. Now, a reason it was hard for me is because I knew a lot of people who had help, like their aunts, their mothers, whoever, people at the church who helped them. I didn't have that. I did have, let me not say that, because I did have one lady at my church who helped out from time to time. She would come like once or twice a month to help, to just watch the kids or sit with them for a little bit. And that did help, right? I'm just saying, for the most part, it was on me. Day in and day out, but it's all right. But yeah, it's okay to ask for help. And I know that now. It took me a while to get there, but I know that now it is okay to ask for help. I think my thing was I didn't want it to come across as me being a charity case. And honestly, I actually felt like people were saying, why she keep having all them kids? Like, why she having all them babies? It wasn't until like this year that I realized that we're not the only big family, and we're not even that big compared to some families. Like, some people have 8, 9, 10 kids, and I'm like, oh, this is still common. But the end of last year, that's when I found out that there are other big families out there. So that was encouraging, because in my environment, I felt like people looked down on me, and I really was struggling with that. But yeah, so I didn't really want to reach out to people, because it's like, I feel like they would say, and this could definitely not be the case. I'm sharing this because I hope it encourages somebody else, right? But I really felt like people were looking at me like, she having another kid? Well, she can make them. She gonna take care of them. So I didn't want to reach out to nobody. Gwen didn't want to reach out to nobody. I was nobody's charity case, okay? So what I'm saying is, it's okay to ask for help from people that you trust, right? And so even to this day, I really don't ask for help for a couple reasons that I'm not going to go into. And then the people that I would ask don't live near me. My mom is 5 hours away, and so that was a struggle in itself. I also want to point out that it's so important to prioritize your mental health. And so if you are feeling extremely overwhelmed, please talk to someone, a trusted friend, someone at your church who you trust in leadership, or, you know, I did talk to some older women along the way. But it's important to keep in mind that every situation is different. So I knew someone who was basically trying to tell me, oh, you could do it, blah, blah. Because they have 4 children. I knew someone who was saying, oh, you could do it, you know. Well, they didn't say you could do it. They were just like, well, I had 5 children too. But the difference is that their 5 children are more spaced out, whereas mine are like back to back to back to back. Like, there's a difference, right? Like, I have 2 who can't really do much for themselves. So it's slightly different than people who have older children, who, not to say like one situation is easier than the other. I'm just saying that my oldest is 7. So it's slightly different from someone who has children who can change diapers for them. But yeah, it's just important to remember that every situation is different. So when you're seeking people, it's good to get advice from people. However, every situation is different. So even when I give people advice, I'm giving advice from a standpoint of, here's what I did, not you need to, right? Like, I'm not saying you need to do this, because your situation is different from the situation I experienced. However, I have been in situations where I've talked to someone and they said, well, I did such and such. And then it'll spark an idea of, oh, that's a good idea. Well, let me try this, So it might be something different, but it's just talking to other people can give you ideas of what you can do to help you in your situation. And so, like I said, I did a lot of sticky notes. I did a lot of, and I just want to say too that it's okay to not try to do everything in one day. Like for me, I made sure my kitchen was clean. I made sure the living room was clean. But if they went to bed and they had toys on the floor, I might not get them tonight. I might get them in the morning, right? Like, it's okay to spend time with your children and then just enjoy that time together because, these are moments, no matter how old your kids are, that will pass you by. So it's just important to make sure that you're valuing the time that you do have with them. Even if your partner is not there, just enjoy the time that you have with your children because they grow up so fast and you don't want to get caught up in so much in your situation that you're missing spending that time, that valuable time with them because they grow up so fast. Like I can't believe Will is already 7 and Will has been with me through all of this. So I really appreciate him so much for sticking it out with me through all the stress. And because again, not only do I have 2 toddlers, I'm pregnant, and pregnancy comes with a lot, emotions. And that's another thing I experience, and I'm just saying this because I don't think people really realize all the time what they are saying, but I've had people say things like, just because you're pregnant, it doesn't give you an excuse to feel a certain way. And it's like, I know that God can do anything, right? Like, but that doesn't take away from pregnancy hormones. And I know that now, but at the time, like, I really felt bad about it. And again, that's why I say have people that you can talk to, because I've really had people make me feel like pregnancy hormones don't mean nothing, like get over it, like, and it's just, it shouldn't be that way. Just like I guess people believe postpartum depression is real, pregnancy hormones are real. And not only are you tired and fatigued, like I'm tired, so fatigued because my kids didn't always sleep through the night, so there were some days I only got 2 or 3 hours of sleep and I still had to get up, get them dressed and get to work and work a full day, get off, get them and do it all over again with no help. Like I didn't have my mom helping me. I didn't have anybody coming over in the afternoons to assist me with getting all of this done. No, I had to do it on my own, right? So the only time I really had help was on the weekends, but that's not during the week. So it was a lot, but definitely meal prep helps, sticky notes help. What's some other things? Writing out your budget, that helps in general, period. Decluttering your home helps, because for me, I've learned this within the last 2-3 years that if I walk into a clean room, my mind immediately is relieved. And I would spend a lot of time in my room just so I wouldn't have to see how messy my living room looked. So now that I know that about myself, because a lot of times I didn't clean my living room until the kids went to bed. Even though it wasn't that bad when it was just 2 of them, but the more kids you start having, the more they are just all over the place. And just remember that you are doing the best that you can for your situation. And it's so important to keep that in mind. Like, you're doing the best that you can as a mom, as their parent, as their guider, as their mentor, as all these things. You're doing the best that you can. So keep that in mind. Keep doing what you're doing. You got this. I'm telling you, from one mother to another, you got this. God is with you. Seek God in everything. I think that's the most important thing, is to seek God and ask God to help you. I know a scripture that comes to me all the time is, I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with my eye. God is always there. Like, he's always present. And he promised to never leave us nor forsake us, right? Like, he's always there. So even if the situation is tough, he's right there. When you feel like you're alone, he's right there. I remember my late pastor told me, never forget that God knows exactly how you feel. He knows exactly how you feel. And I kept reminding myself of that. God knows exactly how I feel, even if I'm crying. And to be honest, I cried, but I didn't cry a lot because life was so busy. Like, I didn't have a chance to cry, to the point where sometimes I wanted to cry because it was definitely challenging, right? Like, it was a lot going on. So there were many times where I wanted to cry, but I was just so busy with life and taking care of the kids and just my daily life as a wife, as a mother, as a working woman, that I didn't really have time to cry, because by the time I went to bed, sometimes I just went to sleep. I used to have a hard time going to sleep. I talk about it now all the time, laugh about it, about how I used to lay in bed and just I couldn't really go to sleep right away. And like my husband, he just lays his head on the pillow and he's, gone. I'm like, oh, you were just talking. So from going to feeling like I wasn't being seen, like I was a nobody, to now being complimented or praised, or I've even had people tell me they admire me, and I'm like, me? um, and I'm not saying all that to brag. I'm saying that because you are strong and you got this, and God is with you. And there are so many people that are looking at you and they don't know how you're doing it, but it's all God. Like, that's what I tell people. It's all God, because again, you're in it, so you don't always realize all that you're doing. But even now, I'm like, my husband is home, but I'm still doing so many things as a wife, as a mother, as a working woman now, working from home, but still working. And so I'm wearing so many hats, and I don't really realize everything that I'm doing, because now I have two kids in school, and so they have homework, and um, but I also can't neglect the younger ones. I definitely can't neglect the 10-month-old, right? Like, he's still nursing and breastfeeding. But the 2-year old, I need to make sure she's where she needs to be, and then the 4-year old, I need to make sure she's where she needs to be, and so it's just taking on all of that and just making sure everybody is good. Everybody has their mother, but I have to pour into myself, because it's hard to pour out from an empty vessel. And how do I pour into myself? Self-care, reading God's word, singing to him, meditating, getting out, going out. What I like to do, I say used to, because I still do it, but not that much, is Starbucks cups. I love their cups. Like, I used to buy their cups all the time. It just made me happy. Like, it wasn't for other people, it was for me. And I love candles, so I used to buy not Starbucks, Bath and Body Works candles. I also love the Walmart little warmer waxes. So I used to buy those. Those little things made me happy. It was something I was doing for myself, right? Going to Ross. I used to like going to Ross. I mean, sometimes it would just be walking around Ross. It was self-care. So those were ways that I poured into myself. So I would advise you to find things that you can do that you can pour into yourself, because me getting a candle from Bath and Body Works, it doesn't take a lot of time to light that, in the house. It's just something I'm doing for me. So I'm still with the kids. I'm still their mom, but I smell this scent, and that's something that I'm doing for me, right? Or I'm drinking out of my Starbucks cup. That's something I'm doing for me. So those things are important. Doing my hair, looking good, feeling good. There were times I didn't feel like it, right? But once I did, and you know, people always say, oh, you always look so cute throughout your pregnancies. But it made me feel better. So I was able to be a better version of myself. So getting up, getting dressed, because let's be honest, like they say, when you look good, you feel good. So doing that helped me mentally, right? Getting up, getting dressed, that helped me mentally, because if I'm not, then, you know, I just, like, the whole day. Now, there were some days I still didn't feel my best, but for the most part, when I look a certain way, I just feel better, right? And so I just thank God for all that. I hope you all enjoy this. I feel like there's so much more I could say, and maybe I'll think of something later and come back. But I hope y'all enjoy this. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. All right, I'll talk to y'all later.